Two backyards, same neighborhood, same size, same budget. One looks like it belongs in a luxury magazine, warm lights, layered seating, people actually want to be there. The other looks like a lonely chair sitting on grass. And here's the truth most people never realize. The difference isn't money, talent, or hearing a designer. It's knowing exactly how to use seating to transform a space. Because the moment you get that right, everything changes. How your garden looks, how it feels, and how often you actually use it. Welcome to Garden Charm Haven, where we turn ordinary outdoor spaces into something unforgettable without draining your wallet. Today, I'm walking you through 15 powerful garden seating ideas that look expensive but cost surprisingly little to pull off. And trust me, the number one idea at the end, that's the one that completely redefines your entire backyard. So stay with me, because by the time this video is over, you won't just have ideas. You'll have a clear vision of exactly what to do next. Let's start with the one that sounds almost too simple to work, and yet somehow ends up being one of the most impressive upgrades you can make in a garden. Most people walk into a store, see a clean, modern outdoor bench, check the price tag, $400, sometimes even $600, and immediately give up on the idea. But here's what they don't realize. You can build something that looks just as good, sometimes even better, using a few basic materials that cost next to nothing. We're talking about 3 or 4 concrete cinder blocks, usually under $2 each, and a couple of solid wooden boards. Lay the boards across the blocks, sand them down, stain them in a deep, rich tone like walnut or ebony, and just like that, you've created a bench that looks like it came straight out of an architect's portfolio. Now here, where most people get it wrong, and this is the detail that separates DIY from designer. They skip the stain. Bare wood next to raw concrete looks unfinished, but the moment you add that darker stain, everything changes. It looks intentional. It looks elevated. Add a simple outdoor cushion on top, maybe a few potted plants around it, and suddenly you've created a full seating moment for under $50. And if you really want to take it further, build 2 of these and place them in an L shape with a block in the middle as a side table. What you end up with is a complete outdoor seating setup that looks like it cost over $1,000, built for a fraction of the price. Now here, where things start to get really smart, because instead of adding more furniture into your garden, this idea lets you build seating directly into something you already need. Most gardens face the same problem. You want beautiful planters filled with herbs or flowers, and you also want a place to sit. But space is limited, so you end up choosing one over the other. This idea solves that completely. A simple raised garden bed built with wood can double as a full wraparound bench just by adding a wider top edge, what designers call a cap rail. And the result? It looks clean, structured, and incredibly intentional, like something a professional landscaper designed from the start. But here's the detail most people miss, and it's the difference between something that looks good and something people actually use. The top edge has to be wide enough to sit on comfortably. Anything under 10 inches feels awkward and cramped. But once you go 10 to 12 inches wide, it instantly becomes real seating. And now you've created a 2-in-1 feature that would normally cost over $1,000 to have built professionally, for closer to $100 in materials. Take it one step further by planting something like lavender or fresh herbs inside, and now you're not just adding seating, you're creating an experience. Every time someone sits there, they're surrounded by scent, texture, and life. That's the kind of detail that makes a garden unforgettable. Now this next one is where things start to feel a little unfair, because once you see it, you'll realize just how much money people waste on outdoor furniture. Shipping pallets. Most people walk right past them without a second thought. But these things are built to carry thousands of pounds across continents, which means they're already stronger than a lot of the cheap outdoor furniture you'll find in stores. And with just a little creativity, they can be transformed into a full outdoor sectional that looks like it belongs in a high-end backyard setup. Here's the difference maker. Don't just throw a few pallets together and call it done. That's exactly how people end up with something that looks unfinished. Stack 2 pallets for the base so the seating height feels natural, sand everything down. Then paint or seal it in a clean, modern color like white, charcoal, or even a soft sage green. Add thick outdoor cushions, maybe a few throw pillows, and suddenly you've created a full lounge setup for a fraction of the cost, something that would easily run over $1,000 in stores. Just make sure you check for pallets stamped HT, which means heat treated and safe to use. Avoid anything marked MB. That one detail matters more than people think. Done right, this doesn't look like a DIY project. It looks like a designer made the call. Now this next idea might be the simplest one on the list, but it's also one of the most powerful, and almost nobody uses it the right way. A lot of outdoor spaces feel unfinished, not because they're missing furniture but because they're missing structure. Chairs are scattered, tables feel random, and nothing really pulls the space together. That's where a single outdoor rug changes everything. It does something subtle but incredibly important. It tells your brain, this is a place. It defines a seating area the same way walls define a room indoors. And the moment you lay one down, your entire setup goes from just outside to something that actually feels designed. But here, the mistake that instantly makes this look cheap: going too small. A tiny rug floating under a table breaks the illusion completely. What you want is scale, something large enough that at least the front legs of all your seating sit on it, or even better, everything sits fully on top. That's what creates that grounded, cohesive look. And if you want to take it even further, layer a smaller patterned rug on top of a larger neutral one. It's a technique designers use all the time indoors, and when you bring it outside, it adds depth, texture, and a level of polish most people never even think about. One simple piece, $30 to $80, and suddenly your garden has a living room. Now here's the point where your garden stops being something you only use on perfect days and starts becoming a space you can actually enjoy anytime. Because no matter how good your seating looks, if the sun is too harsh, people won't stay. That's why shade is one of the most valuable upgrades you can make. But here, where most people go wrong, they assume shade means spending thousands on a pergola or some complicated structure. It doesn't. A simple shade sail, those clean, triangular fabric canopies you've probably seen in modern outdoor spaces, can completely transform your seating area for as little as $25 to $80. Stretch it between a fence, a post, or even a tree, and instantly you've created something that feels architectural, intentional, and honestly, expensive. But this is the detail that makes all the difference. Don't install it flat like a tarp. That's exactly how it ends up looking cheap. You want tension and you want a slight curve. That natural dip is what gives it that soft, designer look. And if you really want to elevate it, layer 2 or even 3 sails at different angles and heights. It adds dimension, creates beautiful shadow patterns, and turns a basic backyard into something that feels like a boutique outdoor space. Now this is where your seating area stops feeling like an afterthought and starts feeling like a destination. Think about it for a second. Every beautiful outdoor space you've ever seen has one thing in common: a strong backdrop. Without it, even the best seating just floats in space. A plain fence or empty wall behind your chairs makes everything feel flat and unfinished. But the moment you turn that background into something alive, lush, layered, full of texture, everything in front of it instantly feels elevated. That's exactly what a vertical garden or living wall does. And the best part, you don't need a $2,000 installation to get this look. Simple pocket planters or wall-mounted containers can be attached directly to a fence for under $50, and once you fill them with a mix of trailing plants, full greenery, and a few pops of color, the transformation is immediate. But here, where most people miss the opportunity, they use just one type of plant. That's what makes it look basic. The real magic happens when you layer it. Let vines spill from the top, add fuller plants through the middle, and keep compact flowers at the bottom. That variation creates depth, and depth is what makes it feel designed. Position your seating right in front of it, and now every time someone looks or takes a photo, they're seeing a space that feels rich, intentional, and completely put together. Now this next idea is where your garden starts to feel less like an open yard and more like a private escape. Because here's something most people don't realize: luxury isn't always about adding more. Sometimes it's about closing things in. When a seating area feels slightly enclosed, even just on two sides, it creates a sense of intimacy that open spaces just don't have. Designers call this a garden room. It feels protected, it feels intentional, and most importantly, it feels expensive. That's exactly what a simple bamboo screen setup can do. With just a few panels arranged around a corner seating area, you instantly create a defined nook that feels like its own world. But here, where people get it wrong, they try to block everything off completely, and that's what kills the effect. You don't want a wall, you want a filter. Let a little light through. Leave small gaps. Maybe even layer in plants along the edges or let something climb up the panels over time. That softness is what makes it feel natural instead of forced. And once you add a couple of chairs, maybe a small table inside that space, you'll notice something interesting. This becomes the spot everyone gravitates toward. It's quieter, it's cozier, and it feels like it was designed for conversation. That's the power of a little privacy done right. Now this is the kind of upgrade that changes your entire garden in a single moment. Because nothing transforms a space faster than adding height, movement, and a true focal point. A hanging swing chair does all three at once. The second you introduce it, the eye is pulled upward, making even a small garden feel taller and more open. Then there's the movement, gentle swaying that instantly adds a calming, almost resort-like feeling to the space. And finally, it becomes a statement piece. Whether it's a rattan egg chair hanging from a sturdy beam, a pergola, or even a simple DIY timber frame, it immediately signals that this isn't just a backyard anymore. It's a designed space. And the surprising part, you don't need a luxury budget to get this look. Many stylish hanging chairs cost under $200, and when paired with a simple stand or support frame, the transformation feels way more expensive than what you actually spent. But here's the detail that most people get wrong, and it completely changes how the chair feels. Height. If it's hung too high, it feels unstable and disconnected. Too low, and it loses its floating effect. The sweet spot is just enough clearance so it gently swings without touching the ground, comfortable, grounded, and safe. Add a thick cushion, maybe a soft throw, and suddenly this becomes the most desirable seat in the entire garden. The one everyone tries first. The one people don't want to get out of. Now this is one of those garden seating ideas that doesn't just add a place to sit. It completely changes how your space feels the moment you walk into it. A simple bench placed under a flowering archway creates something powerful, an instant sense of arrival. It's the kind of setup that makes a garden feel like it has destinations instead of just open space. And the best part is, it doesn't take much to build. A basic metal garden arch paired with a wooden bench underneath is already enough to create the structure. But the real transformation happens when you add climbing plants like roses, clematis, or honeysuckle. Over time, they weave through the frame and turn it into a living entrance that feels straight out of a storybook. Even before the plants fully grow in, just the arch framing a simple bench already gives that high-end, intentional look people usually associate with expensive landscaping. But here, where most people miss the magic, they treat it like decoration instead of placement. The arch shouldn't just sit anywhere, it should frame something. A transition from lawn to patio, a pathway, or a focal point in the garden. That's what gives it purpose. And if you really want to elevate it, add soft lighting, small fairy lights wrapped through the structure or tucked into the plants. At night, it completely changes the mood. What was a simple bench becomes a glowing, intimate corner of the garden that people naturally drift toward without even realizing why. Now this next idea is where your seating area stops feeling like a patch of grass with furniture on it and starts feeling like a real, intentional outdoor destination. Right now, a lot of gardens suffer from one problem. Everything sits on flat lawn or plain concrete, and nothing really feels defined. That's where a gravel seeding zone completely changes the game. By carving out a dedicated area and filling it with gravel, you instantly create texture, structure, and separation from the rest of the garden. Then, when you add a few stepping stones leading into it and place a simple bistro set or chairs in the center, it suddenly feels like you've built a deliberate space rather than just placed furniture outside. But here's the detail that separates a clean, long-lasting setup from something that turns messy in a few months: edge control. Without a proper border, gravel will slowly spill into the grass and lose its shape. A simple edging strip or even bricks around the perimeter keeps everything crisp and contained. And if you want it to feel even more premium, choose angular gravel instead of round pea gravel. It locks together better underfoot, stays stable under chairs, and gives that solid, grounded feeling every well-designed outdoor space has. What you end up with is a seating area that feels structured, stylish, and surprisingly low maintenance, all for a fraction of the cost of a paved patio. Now this is where your garden completely shifts from something you look at to something you actually live in, especially as the day starts to fade. Because lighting is the one upgrade most people underestimate, and it quietly does more work than almost anything else on this list. A simple set of warm solar or LED string lights can completely transform a seating area from basic to unforgettable. The moment they come on, the entire space changes mood. Shadows soften, edges disappear, and suddenly your backyard feels warm, inviting, and alive in a way it never does during the day. It's the same reason restaurants and outdoor lounges rely so heavily on ambient lighting. It makes people stay longer, relax deeper, and enjoy the space without even thinking about it. But here, where most setups go wrong, they treat lighting like an afterthought. Lights are hung too tight, too high, or in straight lines that feel harsh and artificial. What you actually want is softness. A gentle droop between posts, a natural curve that makes the lights feel like they're floating instead of being installed. That subtle sag is what creates that cozy, cinematic glow people associate with luxury outdoor spaces. And if you really want to elevate it, add a few low lanterns or ground lights around the seating area. That layered lighting, overhead and at ground level, is what creates depth, atmosphere, and that "I don't want to go inside yet" feeling. Now this is where your garden stops being just a nice place to sit and becomes the place people naturally gather around without even thinking about it. A fire pit seating circle is one of the most powerful outdoor upgrades you can make because it taps into something deeply human. Fire pulls people in. It changes conversation, it slows everything down, and it keeps people outside far longer than they originally planned. With just a simple fire pit placed in the center and a few chairs or benches arranged around it in a loose circle, you instantly create a natural gathering point in your garden. No complicated design, no expensive build, just placement and intention. And when the flames are going, everything around it feels warmer, more relaxed, and far more connected. But here's the detail that most people get wrong. It's all about spacing. Too close, and it feels crowded and uncomfortable. Too far, and you lose that sense of connection. The sweet spot is giving people enough room to move easily while still feeling like everyone is part of the same circle. And if you want to elevate it even further, mix your seating instead of using identical chairs. A bench here, a couple of chairs there, maybe even an Adirondack in the corner. That variety makes the space feel natural and collected over time, not staged or showroom perfect. The result is simple but powerful, a fire-lit circle that becomes the heart of your entire backyard. Now this next one is iconic, and the reason it shows up in so many dream backyards, Pinterest boards, and magazine covers is simple. It just works every single time. The Adirondack chair isn't just a piece of furniture, it's a symbol of outdoor relaxation. That wide, reclined shape instantly signals comfort, slowing you down the moment you sit in it. And while store-bought versions can easily cost a few $100s each, the truth is you can build your own for a fraction of that using basic lumber and a simple weekend of effort. With standard pine boards, some screws, and a straightforward plan, you can create a chair that looks every bit as good as the expensive versions, sometimes even better once you customize it. But here's what most people miss, and this is what separates a basic DIY from something that looks truly designed. It's not just about building it, it's about finishing it properly. Raw wood will weather fast and lose its appeal, but a strong exterior paint or stain completely transforms it. Deep forest green, navy, or even a bold classic red turns it into a statement piece instead of just a chair. And when you build two of them with a small side table in between, angled slightly toward your garden instead of perfectly aligned, it stops feeling like furniture and starts feeling like a place you actually want to be. Now this is where everything changes, and where your garden stops being a collection of seating ideas and starts becoming a completely different experience altogether. A sunken garden seating area creates that instant wow effect the moment someone steps into it. The concept is simple but incredibly powerful. You lower the seating zone slightly below the rest of the garden, even just by a foot or so, and suddenly the entire space feels more private, more intentional, and far more luxurious. It naturally separates the area from the rest of the yard, almost like you've created a hidden room outdoors. And with a simple frame of stone, brick, or timber, plus a few comfortable seats inside, you've built something that feels custom designed, even if you did it yourself over a weekend. But here's the detail that makes it truly work: scale and proportion. Go too deep and it feels like a pit. Go too large and you lose that cozy, enclosed feeling that makes it special. The magic zone is a modest drop with just enough space for a small, intimate seating arrangement. And when you soften the edges with plants that spill over the top, lavender, creeping thyme, rosemary, you blur the boundary between built structure and nature. That's what makes it feel expensive. Not the materials, but the feeling that it was always meant to be there. And once you step into it, you don't just notice the garden anymore, you feel inside it. Now we're at the one that brings everything together. The idea that doesn't just upgrade your garden, it completely redefines what your backyard is. Because once you combine structure, lighting, texture, privacy, and seating the right way, you don't just end up with furniture placed outside. You end up with a full outdoor living room. A space that feels like an extension of your home, not an afterthought behind it. Start with a clear foundation, like a rug or gravel zone to define the space. Then layer in your seating, maybe a pallet sectional on one side, a couple of accent chairs on the other, and a central fire pit as the anchor. Add height with a shade sail or pergola-style lighting overhead. Then bring in softness with cushions, plants, and warm textures that make everything feel cohesive instead of random. But here's the real secret that makes this idea work at a higher level. It's not about buying everything at once. It's about layering. Each addition should make the space feel more complete, not more cluttered. A rug defines it, lights warm it, plants soften it, seating anchors it. And suddenly, what used to be an empty backyard becomes the most lived-in part of your entire home. A place for conversations that last longer, evenings that feel slower, and moments you actually look forward to every day. Because at the end of it all, this isn't just about garden seating anymore. It's about building a space you never want to leave. And that's the real shift most people never make. Your garden isn't just a space outside your home. It's a part of your daily life waiting to be unlocked. Every idea you've seen today proves the same thing. You don't need a massive budget to create something beautiful. You just need intention, layering, and the willingness to start. Because the moment you stop seeing your backyard as just a yard and start treating it like another room, everything changes. How often you use it, how it makes you feel, and how much value it adds to your home and your life. So now I want to ask you something simple. Which of these ideas are you actually going to try first? Drop it in the comments because I read every single one. And if this video gave you new ideas for your space, Make sure you hit like and subscribe to Garden Charm Haven, because we're just getting started. Next time, we're going even deeper into backyard transformations that look expensive but are shockingly easy to build. I'll see you in the next one.